come.
Welcome back to another episode of Here They Come. I'm Kate Lockhart.
And I'm Paul Ramlow.
Paul, we've got two big races coming up at the Hilltop Oval this weekend. Yonkers is going to host the final for the Levy's Pacey Series and also the Blue Chip Matchmaker.
Yeah, Saturday night will be a big night at Yonkers Raceway. Defending champ Foiled again drew post position 5 for the $460,000 final of the George Morton Levy Memorial Pacing Series for free-for-allers. He's coupled with stablemate Atokia. Atokia got the 4-hole, Foiled again the 5, and they're the morning line favorites at 8-5. They'll be taking on the George Teague team of Mr. Wiggles, who drew the rail, and Southwind Lynx, who drew post 7, and they're at 3-1. News out of Kentucky earlier this week, Kate. The second Kentucky International Equine Summit was held on April 26th and 27th in Lexington.
Yeah, Paul, it was interesting to see the issues they touched on that related to racing. One of the big ones was regulations. They talked about the need for universal rules across jurisdictions. They also talked about the globalization of the racing industry, and Tom Charters in particular addressed how that affects standardbreds. Next up for this week's interview segment, Paul caught up with Tammy Knox of Hoosier Park. She's their marketing and publicity director.
Well, I'm joined today by Tammy Knox at Hoosier Park. Tammy, how are things going in Indiana so far this year?
So far, we're off to a great start. We got underway with our 17th season of harness racing on March the 25th, and we've got 80 days in front of us with a lot of big activities, and we just got done with our first major event in Hoosierdega Nights.
Tell me a little bit about that Hoosierdega Nights. I know you had $500,000 in purses that night with a lot of Indiana sire stakes and quite a bit of promotional work, too, did you not?
We kind of played with the names and put them on the program and named all the races after figures and races in NASCAR, and we also had an exhibition race.
Tell us a little bit about the Fab Five, how it came about and what it's turned into.
Well, that concept came from Janae Erpenbach, our Vice President of Marketing over in the casino, and she wanted to come up with a way to promote the individuals and the horsemen in the sport. So we found 5 guys that come from 5 different areas of the business, and they're all pretty good looking, so that helps a little bit. And her target audience for the casino are women, and they're basically middle-aged. So this is something that's really caught on with the casino players that come out here, trying to get them to cross over and take an interest in horse racing. We use them as celebrities. We take them out during concerts, and they throw T-shirts.
And let's give those 5 guys their props. They are?
Mike Peterson, Mo Pete Peterson. They all have their own nicknames, and they have their own signature moves when they win a race in the winner's circle. They look up to the camera, and they also have their theme music. He's a graduate of Ball State, kind of the underdog, the one that's kind of climbing up in the business. Joe Putnam, who's True Blue Joe Putnam. He's 2,800 wins lifetime. He's top 5 driver and trainer here at the track, so he's the veteran of the group. Then we move to Ricky Macumber, Slick Rick Macumber. He's the ladies' man, blows a kiss to the ladies when he wins. Then we move to Trace Tetrick. He's Trace of Luck Tetrick, kind of brings a little Irish flair to the Fab Five. He's the youngest at 23 years old, so he's a little cocky and a little aggressive. And then Jason Bad Boy Dillander is kind of quiet and wears a hat backwards, has tattoos, wears a little bling, and so he brings that attitude to the Fab Five.
And you mentioned Peter Wren. What is his status with this group now?
We brought him in as the challenger of the Fab Five, and basically he's added in, and he comes in separately from the Fab Five, and he's got his own signature move, and he's called the Wolf.
Now, one of the things that's very helpful for the clientele there at Hoosier with the Fab Five is the Charity Chariots program. Tell us a little bit about that.
Every Saturday in June last year, we haven't nailed down the exact dates this year, but we allowed people to come out, make a donation to their favorite charity. We rented horses for an hour each Saturday. People could come out, and they could pick their favorite driver or their favorite charity and take a trip around the track with them.
Let's talk racing for a quick second here, Tammy. I see you had a story out recently, 44 horses nominated to this year's edition of the Hoosier Cup, and I understand you got a little bit of a format change this year.
We will only have one dash for the cash now for Hoosier Cup. They'll take the top 12 money earners, and allow them to race in the final, which will just be one race for $500,000.
Right, that race will be on Saturday, May 29th this year, and among the eligibles is a sports writer, last year's Dan Patch Award winner. That'd be great if you could get him to race down there.
Yes, it sure would, and we've already got a couple of horses prepping for the Hoosier Cup that are racing here on weekends. The Siegmans have been down with a couple, and we've got a couple of other local horses that are nominated.
Oh, that's super. Well, Tammy, we appreciate you taking time to talk with us today, and continued success to you and all the good folks at Hoosier Park.
Thanks, we sure appreciate it.
Thanks, Tammy. It's always great to hear some of the creative ideas that are coming out of Hoosier Park. Well, Paul, now the USTA's Horse of the Month Award is going to be awarded in a whole new way. Fans of the sport are going to have a say on who will be considered for the honor, and we're soliciting nominations at news.ustrotting.com.
Yeah, we've had more than 30 submissions already, Kate, for the April Horse of the Month. It's quite exciting as far as I'm concerned. Let the fans get out there, let us know who they think has had the outstanding month. Well, Kate, looking around the blogging segments late last week, found a very interesting note about Mark Mcdonald, one of the top drivers on the Woodbine Entertainment Group circuit. Apparently, he has been tweeting between the races.
It's interesting to see this, Paul. To be honest, I'm surprised it hasn't happened earlier. I know there are some thoroughbred jockeys that tweet, but it's great to see Mark, I think, being really aggressive and forward-thinking in terms of embracing Twitter and what it can do to inform fans.
Yeah, this new social media that we now are totally embracing, it just lends itself to new opportunities for the sport of harness racing.
There was some unfortunate news this week, Paul. Syrinx Hanover, one of the top filly trotters of her time, passed away earlier this week.
Yeah, she was a two-time Dan Patch Award winner as the top 2-year-old filly trotter of the year in 2000 and repeated as the top 3-year-old filly trotter in 2001. What a great race mare she was, winning 19 of 21 lifetime starts, approaching $1.7 million in earnings. She was a two-time Breeders' Crown champion, also won the Hamiltonian Oaks and the Matron Stake. Quite unfortunate that her life ended so soon, just at the age of 12. Now let's go into this week's segment of the Hollywood Minute with Bob Hollywood Heyden and Nicole Kraft, brought to you this week by Hoofbeats Magazine, reporting with horsepower.
Little bit of international excitement at the Meadowlands this week, Holly. Auckland Reactor finally made his debut on Thursday in a qualifier. Tell me about that.
Well, we haven't seen that great down-under horse come here in a long time. You probably have to go all the way back to Young Quinn in the infancy of the Meadowlands, and Lyell Creek did on the trotting side. But Auckland Reactor is, so far, he's lived up to the hype. I mean, the qualifier this morning, Thursday morning, was excellent. 153 flat, had a 2-hole, came out to win 26 and 3 last quarter. Brian Sears driving told Kelvin Harrison after the race, don't change anything. Kelvin said he's been working strong, he's adapted well, which is half the battle for some of the horses coming from New Zealand and Australia. He qualifies a couple more times. He's not in the graduate, and his first start will be June 13th at Tioga. So he'll probably have an overnight at the Meadowlands for his debut. For his stakes assignment will be up in New York. So look for Auckland Reactor to prep a couple more times as he gets ready for the best older pacers in the world.
Well, speaking of first stakes, we know the Berries Creek's coming up, and historically, conventionally, that really kicks off the stake season for us. So what are you expecting to get from that race this year?
Yeah, this is the race that Artificial was fourth in back in 2008, and nobody really thought he was a star at that time. So, it's early in the year, obviously, for the stakes horses. Jody Jamieson is here with Kyle Major. Jody has told me a few times he's making a concerted effort this year for the Grand Circuit, so I don't think the wins title is something he's interested in. I think the stakes colts, and this is proof of it right there, what he wants to do. Art Major and Sawgrass Farm, they have 3 in each. Bunny Lake, remember the horse of the year, she's in with Tobago Kais, and Artistic Vision's in with Rock and Roll Heaven. He won a 3-year-old open last week. So the Berries Creek isn't the Meadowlands pace, but it's a nice step on route for the sophomore pacing scene, especially now that the season goes a lot longer than it used to. We get a look at some of the horses early in the season, have a little fun with the 3-year-old set.
Well, it's hard to believe that if it's Berries Creek time, it must be May, and of course, if it's May, it must be Derby time too. And we had the favorite scratch out, but there's 20 horses, and I got to know who you think is going to win.
Well, this is such an interesting race this year. I'm looking at that. Last year, someone told me a stat that 16 of the 19 horses who raced in last year's Derby did not win a race the rest of the year, including the winner, Mind That Bird. So I find that incredibly interesting. It's such a wide-open crapshoot. If you look back at this race in the last 30 years, only once has a horse gone off at less than even money. So, with the 20 betting entrants, certainly it provides opportunities.
All right. Well, I hope that you pick a winner, and I hope you have a great week.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob and Nikki. Bruce Ranger, the winningest driver in the 46-year history of Pompano Park, has shipped north for the summer, heading up to Tioga Downs in New York.
Bruce normally had summered at Rockingham Park in New Hampshire. Of course, Rockingham is not having a race meet this year. So Bruce looked at his opportunities, and he's heading to Tioga. That should make for an interesting transition.
That wraps up this week's episode of Here They Come. I'd like to thank Tammy Knox, Bob Hollywood Heyden, Nicole Kraft, and our producer, Rich Johnston. I'm Kate Lockhart.
And I'm Paul Ramlow.
And we'll see you next week for another episode of Here They Come.